Good afternoon. It is April 22nd. I am going to give you an apology for not being around for the last month or so. We finally got a doctor to give us a straight answer. For those that are new to our channel and don't know, a year and a half ago, I had a hip replacement surgery and something went wrong. And I've been through doctors and doctors and doctors trying to figure out what went wrong and if there's a fix for it. But I came out of surgery with a horribly numb and painful foot that limits my ability to walk. And it doesn't have a normal temperature regulation to the foot and the leg. And there's times that it gets blue. If I get in cold weather or if I'm on my feet too much, the circulation dissipates and it will look like I get no circulation at all and will literally look blue. Did find a doctor about a month or so ago, and he was brutally honest and said, this is a permanent condition. The only treatment offer he is able to give me is a device called a neurostimulator that is implanted in and attached to my sciatic nerve, which is the damaged nerve, that generates an electrical impulse all the time, just like a pacemaker to a heart. About a third of the people that get these neurostimulators to their spine or their hip have bad reactions to them. So it's not a done deal, this will work for you. Some people have good reactions, some people have really bad reactions, and thankfully mine is in the sciatic nerve, it's not in the spine, because some of the ones in the spine people have ended up paralyzed with. And they wanted to put one in my spine and I flatly refused to have it done. You're not touching my spine. So I have two options, a neurostimulator or finding the adaptability to just live with the pain and find ways to go without the pain, which is going to involve getting a mobility device so I have the ability to go more than just a quarter of a mile. And that is unfortunately a very expensive fix, because to get something that will get me out to where I go for my auroras is about $20,000. And insurance does not cover it. So I have been working on ways to try and get something like that funded so I can, because I'm really on the fence on that neurostimulator, whether that is something I even want to try, because I have had bad reactions to breast implants and I have not done well with this hip implant. Do I want to put something else in my body? Or do I want to hold out, wait for them to get the research done on some of the stem cell research they're doing to regenerate nerves in stem cell research, and go with something like that, that is my body material repairing the nerve damage, and just cope with mobility devices until then. So that's where we're at with that. And I've been struggling with that, unfortunately, a little bit depressed. So I apologize for not being there. It was not that I'm trying to give up on you or that I'm being neglectful. I just needed some time. So let's start with, I have good news and I have bad news. The bad news is it's April and we are in an April weather pattern, which means we have cloudy to partly cloudy skies the entire week. And the likelihood that we are going to see something is going to be a lot of work on those of you who are determined to see the auroras. You're going to have to hunt for those holes in the clouds. It's not going to be, I don't think, an easy chance to see the auroras. The good news is, this week they came out and said we are headed into an El Nino year. This means the jet stream that has been kinked over the top of us, delivering constant weather pattern changes and storms and clouds and stuff like that. Once we get into this El Nino, we'll flatten out to the south of us, and we potentially could have less storms and less cloudy weather and warmer weather. So, fingers crossed. The other good news is we've had a CME. Now, this is going to take some visualization, and I'm going to put it into maybe a picture that can make you understand. I'm the pitcher, I'm the sun. You're the catcher, Earth. And I have really, really bad aim. I'm throwing the ball at you and I'm aiming for that catcher's mitt, but I end up hitting your backside. And that's kind of what the Earth did. It aimed to go at us and ended up hitting our backside. Or our front side, as the case may be. But it didn't hit us directly. But that gives you the visualization of how this happened. So let's get to what the view of our sun looks like. And this is a rapidly changing sun right now, and you'll see this as I put this in motion. I want you to pay attention to this V right here. This corona hole has been giving us a nice, slow, steady stream of energy and solar winds. This has been giving us a nice, steady solar stream. We have this region right here. This is not necessarily sun. This may be a tiny sunspot down here, but this up here is not a sunspot. This is all filament activity. This is going to develop into, it's starting to develop into a sunspot, but it's not a sunspot yet completely. And then we have another sunspot coming back here. This, what looks like a roping filament, will turn into a coronal hole as this comes through. So let's put it in motion and give you a chance to watch. And you can see all the snapping and the crackling. It's all confined pretty much down through this region right here is really, really active. And our coronal solar stream has collapsed. There goes our sunspot. And as you see it, it shoots off in the opposite direction. But it's still leaving some looping, heavy, big coronal holes. Or filaments. Let's let this get through here again where I can get it stopped at the right spot. There it goes again. Okay. So here's our, I did it again. Let's see if I can get it up here. Stop. Okay. Here's our sunspot region that is developing. We have a small sunspot region down in here. It's not much, but we do have this big roping filament here, structure here. This is still boiling. We have another filament developing down here. And we have a sunspot region here. Here's our coronal hole that is rapidly developing. So the predictions, I don't think are going to be completely on target this week. And this is something newbies you need to learn. Just because the forecast says KP2 or KP3 doesn't mean it's going to be KP2 or KP3 as we go into maximum. You kind of have to look at that, maybe the guideline, because chances are when a storm hits, it's going to be above or below what you expect it to be, about 50% of the time. Okay? The other thing that's going to affect how big or how small this storm is, well, there's two things. And let me explain the two things. Remember when we're playing with magnets as kids, how we put north and north together and it would push everything away and the magnets wouldn't connect, but if we flipped the magnet to a south and a north, it kind of sucked each other together and made a connection? Okay, so when the winds come off the sun, they're magnetically charged. So if the wind is magnetically charged, the same charge as the earth is charged, it's going to push each other away and repel it. But if the CME coming off the sun is the opposite charge of the earth, it's going to pull it in. and we're going to get a good aurora show off it. So if this misses, then you know that it was the same polarity as Earth. And we never really know until it gets here whether it's the same polarity or an opposite polarity. Okay? It's just what the winds are charged at. And we don't know that until it hits. The other thing, and for those who are new to the channel, is this could be a scoop shovel event. We had the small corona hole that had been giving us solar winds, and we had the corona hole to our south that had been giving us coronal hole streams. So I want you to think of the coronal hole streams as like an inch of snow on your driveway. And you're going to clean your driveway. So you get out your snow shovel, and the CME is the push of that CME is the snow shovel. And as you push that snow shovel across the driveway, which is like the space between Earth and the sun, it picks up all those coronal winds and all the particles in those coronal winds on the front of that snow shovel, and it gives them a good hard push, but it also builds it up in density. The CME works the same way as that snow shovel when we have a coronal hole stream in front of it. It picks up everything and pushes it forward. And because there's more particles, and because the particles are more dense, and because the coronal hole stream is pushing those winds faster, we get a bigger bigger aurora event than we are predicted to have. Now they're predicting this is going to be above a KP6 at this point, Sunday night. It's going to start between 4 and 8 in the afternoon and pick up and go through the night. Now, newbies, when you look at Space Enthusiast page, at this point, you need to subtract 4 hours. So if it says 2100 hours, you subtract 4 hours. So 2100 hours is 8 o'clock, so you would subtract 4 hours. That makes it 4 o'clock. Some apps online will use your own time, so you got to look and see whether they're using your own time or whether they're using UTC. UTC is 4 hours ahead of Eastern time. And you have to subtract that 4 hours to get the correct time for you. And it's done on a military clock time. So you got to kind of make that adjustment. Okay. Let's see if this is back loading. Oh, good. We do have this back loaded. Okay. What I want to do here is I kind of want to get to a point here. Okay. This is Lascaux. This is a satellite that's monitoring what's coming at Earth. This right here blocks out the brightness of the sun so we can see the winds coming off the sun. And you can see right here, there's stuff and activity coming all the way around the sun. Over here they've stripped all the color out and they've increased the magnifications so you can get a more detailed view of the particles and the winds and the direction that it's moving and what is happening. So as we put this in motion, I want you to watch the directions things are moving and whether you're getting a full halo. Now, for the most part, you can see this is all coming out pretty equal all the way around. Once in a while, you get a blast out from one side or the other. But here's our big blast out to the side. That's our big CME going out. And there's a big one going up to the north of us, up over the top. But it's got some components that's bringing it down to us. And right there is a big CME. So I'm going to toggle this back and forth so you can kind of see it. Okay, you see how it's moving out? And looking at the blue, you can see it better. You can see all this. We've got a nice steady wind coming off the sun. Here comes that big CME, and you can see the scoop shovel event coming off. See, there's the ridge of that shovel, and it's going to come in a sudden onset, and it's going to push everything in front of it faster. It's going to build it up in density, and it's going to make it peak out bigger than what it would have been. Quick look at the sunspots. We have a minor sunspot down here, very minor, right where the filaments are. Your developing coronal hole is over here, and that is where the other smaller, just developing coronal or sunspots developing. And right over here, we have the already developed sunspot region there. All of them are beta to beta class, not really anything major to talk about. Here you can see, I'm going to toggle this up. I've got this stopped so you can kind of see how these are moving out. Here was the big one that shot off to the side, and you can see that just the tail of it might hit Earth, but it looks like it's going to maybe kind of combine with the one that, the really big looking one that shot off that was a full halo that kind of was more to the north and front of us. Major part of that is going to miss us, but it's combining over here, and we're going to get some of it. Okay, and it is going to be an onset, and they're predicting that is going to happen, you know, right around that 4 o'clock to 8 p.m. time frame, give or take. But once it starts to onset, it's going to increase after dark. So you're going to want to be out there Sunday night. You're going to want to find a coronal or good spot that you can see through the clouds. It should be visible down to the thumb area of Michigan, midway through Wisconsin, Minnesota. So you should be okay at the mid latitudes, down below probably the 45th parallel, below that a little bit. You should have real good viewing. So you do not all have to run completely north. If you're down in Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, this is not the time to run. This is not going to be the storm you want to chase. There is too much of a high miss chance for you to want to invest in this storm. I would not put a great big amount of money into this one, because you've just got too many clouds out there, and you've got too many ifs and ands and maybes. This is not the one for if you're driving a great distance you want to bank on. We do, however, have a full week of activity coming up. More activity coming around on the incoming region of the sun, and you're going to want to stay tuned. I will start putting out daily forecasts, and I will keep you up to date this week on what is happening. For newbies and looking at our time frame, again, remember this is in UTC time, so and military time, so 2100 hours is 8 p.m. to midnight. So you're going to back it up, and on our time in Eastern time, that's 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So it's at a 2.6. Sunday night, 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock, it's supposed to start going up to a 5, and then 5, 6, and then it will dissipate rather rapidly. So if you're not right out there with it, you haven't got a real wide point that it's going to stay. I think it's going to be a rapid onset, and it's going to rapidly deplete. Okay. How do you know when to go? This one, you just got to be out ahead of it. But normally when I'm looking, I wait. You see how this line jumps up and down and up and down, and it's really broken and kind of dotted right here? That means that Earth has taken a magnetic load, and the polarities are flipping back and forth, and that's usually a sign that the auroras have started or are starting. That's a sudden onset. I watch for that in my phi angle to know I've got a sudden onset. That's when that's my go point. I know it's hitting. I know I can go out there and get it. So I'm going to leave you with that. I will keep you updated this week as things happen. I am getting back to normal slowly, but we still have a lot of decision making to go with the health stuff. I do appreciate all the helpful research some people have sent me. I really want to thank the people that have done that, because I have been looking into the options. I'm really leery of putting something in my body that doesn't belong there again. It has not turned out well. It just doesn't seem like a good idea to do it again. So we may be stuck with this, and I may just have to find ways to cope. So we will see. Anyway, talk to you soon. Look for forecasts, and we will keep them up this week and keep you updated.